Have you ever had one of those days where you haven't been outside yet, you've just looked at the weather, and you're wondering what layers to wear, and as you're putting layers on, you start getting hot, and you're like, I should take off a layer, but then you don't, and you realize it was the best decision ever to not take off that layer? Yeah, this is one of those days. I wanted to touch on a subject that I've only ever seen one other motovlog video about. I've obviously seen other videos about it, but only one other motovlog video about that a motovlogger posted, and it was about race, R-A-C-E, not like motorcycle racing. Well, everybody loves that, or car racing, NASCAR, stock car race. Just race in general, black, white, yellow, brown, purple, green, whatever race, color you are. I guess it's not really a race because we're all humans. I wanted to touch on that. And for one main reason, for me, it's a personal reason. Everything's personal. And that's because if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm black. That doesn't bother me. I hope it doesn't bother you. And my children are black. My wife is black. A lot of blackness going on in the sugar daddy household. But I grew up in the South. I grew up in North Carolina. I'm a proud Tar Heel. I am one of those American by birth, Southern by the grace of God type of people. I wasn't born in North Carolina. I was actually born, oddly enough, I was born in New York, in the Bronx, home of the Yankees. But I consider myself a Southerner because I grew up in the South. So, being black, growing up in the South in the 80s and the 90s, you're exposed to a lot of things. You're called a lot of things. You hear people being called a lot of things. You just know that there's a lot of things. Like you realize that race plays a role very early on. So I tell people now living in Ohio, I'm not scared of Confederate flags. That doesn't bother me. I don't have any problem with someone who wants to fly a Confederate flag. I don't have a problem with anybody that's from Ohio that wants to refer to themselves as a redneck. I ain't scared of you, because that's not a redneck to me. Rednecks don't go around announcing it, right? Rednecks don't do that. Rednecks don't fly flags on their trucks. Rednecks don't have license plates on their cars. Rednecks don't, have stickers for rednecks by rednecks. They don't tell you, but you find out pretty damn quickly, just by the way they treat you, or the way they don't treat you, the way they ignore you. So growing up here in Northeast Ohio, I'm not concerned for myself. Because like I said, I've been called things, I've heard people call things. My parents actually grew up in the 60s. Both of them are from North Carolina. Grew up dirt poor, literally, no shoes, sharing beds, back when chickens were referred to as yard birds. My grandmothers cleaned houses for rich white people. The whole stereotypical story of poor blacks in the South. So it doesn't bother me to be around that. Like, I'm not scared of someone who claims to be a racist. That's not my issue. My issue is more so with my children as they get older. Growing up, I grew up outside, I tell people, and it was nothing for us to go out and be out all day until the streetlights came on. All the kids did that, white and black. But then growing up, having grown up outside, as I got older and was able to afford things of my own, I got into quote-unquote white things. When I was in high school, or when I was in elementary school, middle school, I rode BMX bikes, everybody did. When I got to high school, I actually started cycling, road cycling. Followed the Tour de France, followed all the European classics. Was a Greg LeMond lover, like most of the country was at that time. Followed cycling, rode a bicycle on the road with spandex, all that good stuff. And that progressed into mountain biking. I mountain biked for many years. I actually raced cross country for a season. I've done, I've dabbled in like rock climbing. I've camped. I've hiked. I've, backpacked, whatever you want to call it. I've done all these things that are considered predominantly white things to do as a black kid. And now, my kid's coming up, getting interested in things, and particularly my son, he plays hockey. He's the only black kid out there. We're the only black parents in the stands. But he plays hockey. He loves it. He's already said that he wants to be a professional hockey player. He wants to be a goalie. And finding out about it, I never played hockey. I did play lacrosse in high school. I guess that's kind of hockey-ish. But there were black kids on that team. So looking through, trying to figure out about hockey players, about hockey, the sport, and educate myself about it, coming across, I don't know hockey players' names. Just recently, because I looked up Seth Jones, because we did live in Ohio, I know he plays for Columbus, and Dustin Bufflin, just because I've just wandered into like the YouTube hole that is that, and found out about Dustin Bufflin, and he's like just ridiculous, in a good way. And that kind of crossed over to my son asking, because I ride a motorcycle, obviously. My son saying, I want a motorcycle, I want a dirt bike. And the only black motocross rider I know is Jimmy Stewart, Bubba Stewart. So looking at him, and looking at hockey players, the little interviews that they've given, and interviews that James Stewart has given. Well, he always did like to do that bubble scrub. But knowing that the racism is out there, and knowing that my son in particular, is interested in these quote-unquote white activities, it kind of gets me nervous. It kind of gets me nervous about how am I gonna act when someone calls him out his name. What am I gonna do? I have no temper control. I'm like a house with no air conditioning. I have no temper control at all. And the last game my son is in, he's doing a mites camp right now. If you look on my Instagram, SugarDaddy76, you'll see that I've posted a post with one of his trophy that he got, and he's doing the same camp for the second season, I guess, because they do the hockey season, they follow that. And he had a game last week, a couple weeks ago, a cross-ice game. It's ADM hockey, so it's a cross-ice game. And he's still at the point, he's 6, he's still at the point where he'll get too fast and he'll fall down. He just runs into people. Not on purpose. I mean, he does check people. He will check people. But for the most part, he gets a little bit overzealous and he falls down. And at one point, he was going towards a player who had the puck. And just right before he got to this person, he lost his footing. And he fell, and he slid. It's another kid, obviously. And he fell, and he slid into this kid and knocked the kid down. The puck goes flying wherever. And in the stands behind me, I hear this other parent. All I hear is like, "Oh, come on!" And I know because they're cheering for the same team, the team that's going against my son's team. So I know that that's the play he was watching. And I was thinking to myself, should I turn around and give this guy the stink eye for being a prick because my son is 6? Or should I just play it cool and be like, just watch the game. I ended up just watching the game, seething, pretty much. Because I don't have that temperature control, so I'm just like, the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, what does he mean by that? Like, my perception of that is probably totally, it may have been totally different from what he actually intended, but my perception of it was just like, he must be talking because he's black. My kid's black. That must be it. And can you tell from a distance? Not really, with the helmets on and everything. I mean, there are names on the backs of the jerseys. And ours is like, there's a lot of like foreign-looking names from on the backs of these kids' jerseys. And my kid's name is not a foreign-looking name. But it's still kind of just like, what did he mean by that? Is this what it is? Does it start already? Should I like get my racism radar going, my radar going already? Or should I just sit here and enjoy the game? And my wife would just be like, just shut up, because you're stupid. But at the same time, that's the thing I worry about. Because is he going to be tough enough? If you listen to like some of the mic'd up NHL plays, if you listen to some of them, those guys talk the most shit, some of the most aggressive shit that I've ever heard in like a mic'd up thing. I've listened to like mic'd up football games and mic'd up baseball. Hockey players have taken talking shit to like a whole nother level. It's ridiculous. It's, what the hell, man? Holy cow. Holy cow. And so I just wonder to myself, is he going to be okay with that? Am I going to be okay with that? Is he going to like not tell me when he gets older, when he gets to middle school or high school and he's playing? And I've read stories about like those other older kids, saying the same types of things, using the N-word during games and just kind of targeting black kids. Is that what's going to happen? Is that something that I need to worry about? It's got me nervous. It's got me concerned. It's got me worried, because obviously he's my son, and I don't want anything, bad to happen. I don't want him to have a bad experience that makes him not want to play a sport that he loves already. So I don't know. So far, I play it cool. I don't, the camp that we're at, nobody treats us differently. Nobody treats him differently. The coaches appreciate him. He's not the best skater. He tries his little heart out. It's just kind of like he's going to get to a point where somebody somewhere is going to say something to him, and I just don't want that to break his heart. That's all. Like me, I can handle it. I can totally handle it, because I'll punch you in the face. I don't give a shit. But for him, for my son, what am I going to do? What should I do? If you have any suggestions, let me know down in the comments. Do you have kids? Are you black? Are you white? If you're black, have you ever experienced any type of racism? Yeah, it's funny. Black people know. But oh yeah. If you're black, and your kids play white sports, quote unquote, have you ever experienced any type of like issue with them doing that? And if so, how did you handle it? Let me know down in the comments below. Oh, that's funny. I'm making jokes. I'm on equality. You can do it. Yeah, somebody's got too much free time on their hands. I'm going to be quiet for a little bit. Oh, look at this little doggy. Oh, yeah. Big ass Cadillac. Yeah, just move. Thanks. If anybody wants to know where I'm going to that Starbucks right there. No, not really. I'm not going to that Starbucks. Fuck that Starbucks. Look at these people. This is like my favorite place to be, to pass through. Like, honestly, it is. I kind of love it here. It's kind of cool. No, I'm not going to the Starbucks. So if you've ever, like, experienced anything, if you're black and your kids play quote-unquote white sports, and you've ever had to deal with racism towards your kids, racism towards you as a parent sitting in the stands, let me know. Let me know how you handled it down in the comments below. If you're white and you've heard that going on from another parent in the stands and you've stepped in, let me know what you said. Or if you didn't step in, let me know why. If you want to see more videos from me, subscribe to the channel. Every subscriber helps. I appreciate the ones who just recently subscribed, who've almost got me up to the double the decade digit. That's impressive. I appreciate that. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. Or else I'll just keep putting out crappy videos. You've been warned. Hit the bell. Turn on those notifications so you know next time I post something. This is Sugar Daddy, and I will see you later. That little town that I passed through just now, the little village, you get bonus points and total respect from me if you know who famous is from that village. I'm not going to gray anything out. I'm not going to do anything. If you're a fan of this particular person who has does this particular thing, has this particular skill set, let me know. Let me know if you know who it is that's from there. They don't live there anymore, but they're from there. And there is a building that I actually rode by just now that features prominently on the back cover of one of their books. So there, I kind of gave you a hint already. Not really a novelist or anything like that, but that person does have books, and one of the buildings in that little town square I just passed through features on the back cover of that book. So let me know if you know who it is. Let me know who that person is, if you know who that person is, and let me know if you know what that person did.